What's going on? I'm streaming. I'm recording and I'm streaming. That's what's up. Hello, hello. Is this thing going? Welcome to episode 1 of Astrology and True Crime. I am your hostess and flight attendant, astrolunachick. You can call me Susan. I might answer to that also. I hope everyone is doing really well. And I looked at this chart yesterday because if you are a true crime junkie and you've been following the Karen Reed trial, the first one, and now they're getting ready to try her again. This is the biggest travesty of justice, in my opinion. However, it is what it is. And I guess, I, it's got to be shown to the public, when there's corruption. If we don't see it, how can we get outraged, right? And then how can anything be done about it? So, someone at one point in time, I will not mention a name, but they gave me the judge's birth date information. Now, I'm not going to say that this is accurate. I make no representations that this is truly accurately the chart of the judge in the Karen Reed trial, also known as Auntie Bev. um, However, the person that gave it to me, I'm not sure what they do for a living, but I'm pretty sure it is something like Skip Tracer. She finds people. So she gave it to me, and my disclaimer is this. I'm reading a chart that I don't know for sure is 100% accurate, but I can read a chart and I can give an opinion about a chart that admittedly is not accurate. First of all, I could tell you it's not accurate because I don't know the time of birth, and the birth date information was given to me secondhand. So all I can do is speculate that it might or might not be. However, I thought that this would be a wonderful teaching moment because if you're interested in astrology, you're going to learn about a little bit about how astrology works and how we read a chart. So, for entertainment, yes, and educational purposes, I'm going to read a chart that, as I've said, who knows if it's accurate? All I know is it could be at least the date. The year, I don't know. The we don't have an accurate time of birth, so we don't know where the moon is. I can guess. Um, so we don't know the rising sign. And I definitely wouldn't even go on record as saying, see what I did there, go on record. I wouldn't go on record to say that this is what I believe to be an accurate chart because that's not my purpose. My purpose is to teach and demonstrate astrology. But based on what I tell you about the planets and the transits, well, you can determine for yourself if this might be an accurate birth chart, but it won't be because I didn't even try to rectify with the moon to try to figure out what the birth time would be. And that would affect the rising sign. So, so without further ado, I give you what I think could be maybe a, a chart belonging to one Auntie Bev Cannone. So, what I think is interesting right now, I can point out, is she does have the sun in Cancer, if indeed this is her chart. But the chart itself, we see sun in Cancer, definitely a very self-protective sign. We could possibly have a moon in Capricorn. She could have been maybe born on a full moon if this were her chart. I think it's interesting. I do think that she does feel like a Capricorn moon to me because Capricorn is sort of cold and stern. Um, and mm, she just comes across as just like a no nonsense, serious kind of a judge. Now, else, what I know right now from the transits. Oh, okay. So one more thing. This will give you a little insight in how to read a chart. We're looking at the sun. That's her identity, the core personality. Then you look at the ruler. So a sun in Cancer is ruled by the moon, and the moon is in Capricorn. So, yes, while it's Cancer, it's family oriented, let's say, very traditional, Cancer and Capricorn, mother and father. Um, the moon being in Capricorn, I would say, is sort of like the mother being more of the authority figure and holding the family together, let's say, because the ruler of Capricorn, the sign that the moon is Saturn, and Saturn is in retrograde. So Saturn in the chart represents the father and the relationship to the father. So retrograde Saturn is like a absent dad, or he's working all the time. I mean, in Capricorn, Saturn in Capricorn, he's really either old and he passed early, or he's working all the time and he's not around. So the mother is really wearing the pants. This is what this chart says to me. The person, Bev Cannone, I don't know. I don't know anything about her, but you know, seaside cottage seems to fit, the family gatherings and whatnot. So those are two interesting things that we can take from the chart. I wanted to look and see what were her transits, if indeed it's her chart. What are the transits to this chart, which I have no idea if it's her birth chart or not. Okay, we're learning astrology here. Now, I would just like to redeem myself from my my last show that should have been entitled Mars retrograde and men behaving badly, a rant. And so I felt a little bit bad because it wasn't my intention to go man bashing. I wasn't man bashing, I was guy bashing and baby man bashing. So I did say, guys, listen, Mars retrograde and out of bounds and being the cranky, wet, soggy diaper. It's not just guys. I'm not going to pick on the guys. So here we have a great example of Mars retrograde being exhibited by a female. So I get to redeem myself. So anyway, um, now this chart, okay, I don't know if I clipped one for the day yesterday. Exactly, did I? That's her progress chart. Let me see. No, no, no. All right. So what I have really is the transits for today's, like today's transits. Sorry, my phone is going crazy. And I should have done a sound check because I don't know if my friends are on. I don't see anybody watching. Is there anybody out there? Is there anybody listening? Someday we're going to play Name That Tune. Am I not streaming live? Why? Guess I'm not. How does this happen? How am I not? Oh, Phenomenal. Phenomenal. I didn't go live. That's why. So YouTube is going to get a lot of me blabbering. So now I'm going to have to repeat myself, but that's okay. I know how to edit. Word. Word, people. How do we go live? Do I remember how these things work? I should. There we go. There's something to be said about this, like nighttime, the night screen. I have everything black. I don't know why I feel like it's easier on the eyes. Ha! We're live, yippee. Live on the Twitters. It's live on the Twitters. And I'm recording on my Zoom. My Zoom feed will go up on YouTube later. Later, Gators. And I'm sharing screens, talking shit. And nobody is on yet. So let's talk about enough about Bev. Let's talk about me for a minute and what I do. So, if you don't know, I know you know me as an astrologer, but I am a true crime junkie. And what I did a very bad thing yesterday. Actually, it was a very good thing. But I decided to pull out my chart that I saved because I collect information. I collect information. I collect times and dates and birth dates and event dates, and I run them through my astrology brain, and out spits something hopefully interesting and beautiful, maybe. So, this is what I do in my spare time. When I'm not on Twitter tweeting about astrology, um, or I'm not doing a show. If I'm listening to a lot of true crime stuff and courtroom stuff, very, very interested in all of that. That's my entertainment for reals. So it's the Karen Reed trial, round two, that I've just absolutely riveted. Let's say riveted, because you cannot make this stuff up. It's real life drama. Like, forget reality TV. Like, this is reality. And if you followed the first trial, oh my God, I cannot believe we're doing this again, but we are. But we are for the people in the back, because in my mind, this is exposing what is wrong, the things that go on, because cockroaches hide in the dark. So yesterday, I decided, because a long time ago, someone passed me some information um, about a birth date, and I don't know if it's true. I don't know for sure. I cannot corroborate this information. So, what I am doing here is I am reading a chart. And my disclaimer is this may or this may not be the chart of the one, the only Auntie Bev, also known as Judge Cannone. Um, it might be. And judging from some of the things that I saw in the chart and the transits that are happening, it could be fairly accurate. I mean, it might not be the same year, it could be the right date, wrong year, but for sure it is not 100% accurate. I will tell you that, because I don't have a birth date. I need a time, a date, and a place. I don't have a place. I just put Canton, Mass. I don't have a time. So this is for entertainment and educational, instructional purposes only. I'm reading a chart. I don't know if it's accurate. If it is, you got my disclaimer. I just think it's really fascinating what I did find, and I wanted to share it with the group because most people who follow me, I think it's maybe 50-50. No, it's probably, I don't know, 80-20. A lot of people who follow me for my astrology. If you're watching the live, you're probably here for the astrology. Or, you like the way I talk shit and I'm entertaining, I make you laugh. I don't know. But I like to share astrology and I like to teach and show people how it works. I look at things a little differently. So it's not, you know, um, my favorite astrology is weird stuff like crime and death charts and psycho killers and ritual abuse, like just the weirdest of the weird. Like, how weird can you get? I want to see the chart. I need to know what it looks like in a chart. Fantastic. I mean, this is my thing. So when I pulled up the chart, of which I have no clue is accurate, but it's a chart. We have a sun in Cancer here in this chart and the moon in Capricorn, which could be, if the time of birth, let's say, this is a little bit past sunrise. You could see, look at the left-hand side. You see that the house is labeled 12. That's the 12th house. That's the sun. That's the eastern horizon and where the sun rises. So if this chart was for a few hours earlier, um, it might have been a full moon, but we're just coming off of a full moon in this chart. So let's just, put it within the window of a full moon, a person born around the full moon. Very interesting. Um, Capricorn and Cancer, it's the sign of the mother and the father. The moon rules Cancer. So the moon speaks of the mother in the chart. The moon being in Capricorn, Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. Saturn is in Capricorn in this chart, but it's retrograde. Very interesting. Has to do with authority, the exercise of authority. Who had authority in the house growing up? I would say that, the mother was definitely like the matriarch, and the Saturn retrograde speaks to probably um, a father either not present or working all the time. I mean, Capricorn, Saturn in Capricorn is authority. It's work, 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 work. So it's like a double dose, really triple with the moon there. I mean, it could have been that the mother worked and supported the family. But you know what? We're not here for that. We don't care about that. It really doesn't matter. What I think is very interesting is the transits, more or less, to the chart and what was happening yesterday. Like, what the hell? Now, what you're seeing here is actually a snapshot of the planets where they are today, but more or less they were the same yesterday. The only difference is the moon, but the moon was in Scorpio, and Scorpio is highly suspicious. It's very, it can be very mistrustful. Cancer also is. Cancer can be very, very cautious. Think about how the crab moves. The crabs move sideways. They hide under a rock, and then, the way they move is just with the tide, and it's more of a sideways movement. They're not coming straight at you. And if you notice, she's very cautious. She does not rule from the bench, is something that Auntie Bev never does, right? We know that. We who have watched the trial and who are observing how she conducts her courtroom. I mean, every judge is different, but you could see, and I will tell you that I think it, based on what I'm seeing in the chart, if it's hers, I don't know. But based on that, the reason why she does that is because she understands that she is ruled by her emotions. And I think it's a coping mechanism for her because she knows when she's being emotionally triggered. I mean, this is just my guess. She knows enough to put her emotions aside when she feels like she has a lot of emotions. If she doesn't have a feeling about it one way or another, okay, fine. It's whatever. But if there's something that's really crawled up her butt like it did yesterday, um, clearly she was shooketh. And the moon would have been on her on her Neptune in Scorpio. Um, but what got her mad? What made her mad? Now, in reference to my last show and talking about men behaving badly, now we're talking about a woman being affected by this Mars retrograde. So she's got Mars retrograde at 17 degrees. I should say the chart has. In the chart, we see the sun, which could may or may not be hers. I don't know. 17 degrees of Cancer. So a lot of anger stirred up. She's angry. People around her are angry. She's probably feeling like the target of a lot of pressure and, mounting aggression. And so pressure to act, but not being able to act, right? Because Mars is retrograde. Mars is retrograde and out of bounds. So I think it's kind of probably frustration of, we're here again. I really don't want to do this again. We have Saturn in Pisces at 19 degrees, which is making an aspect, not exact, but it is aspecting Mars. Um, so it's like, the weight and the responsibility is bearing down. Now, Saturn, and I'm going to say this too because she, I believe this chart is somewhat accurate. I believe there is a moon in natal moon in Capricorn, and I believe that with Saturn retrograde in Capricorn, that there's a heavy Saturn influence here, and Saturn has been aspecting the Saturn in this chart, which here is 14 degrees Capricorn retrograde. Um, we've got what else is it's really bearing down like the weight of it, like, oh gosh, here we go again. So the other thing with Saturn, and the reason why I mentioned Saturn and Capricorn, and I'm pointing this out, is because Saturn represents top-down structure. And because, let's say, it's not just her position of authority, and I'm just speculating here about what is going on. Um, it's not just her position of authority, but it is people that are, let's say, on her same level as well as beneath her in the pecking order, as well as above her. So while I could look at her chart and say, her chart, this chart, whatever chart, any chart, and say the sun represents the person, but Saturn represents the people that sit above that person. And that is what is looking down upon Judge Cannone. So, okay, so it is bearing the weight and the heavy responsibility and the scrutiny and looking to see if you are measuring up. Um, so let's say Saturn in astrology, it tests us, it limits us, it gives us responsibility. We move forward if we show that we can, we're trustworthy. So integrity is huge with Saturn. And we know so much more about this case from the first trial than we did, before it started. There are more eyes. There are eyes coming from way up high. You know, I mean, you could spiritualize it and say it's divine justice, but I'll tell you what, nothing goes forward until Saturn gives the signal. Saturn is the shot caller. So, in terms of a federal investigation, I would say that Saturn, transiting Saturn, moving through Pisces, it is stealthy, it's behind the scenes, it is just watching to see how things play out. And so I believe she is aware of this. And because we have retrograde Mars here um, in Cancer, Mars has been here before. So I have to go back and look. I won't do it now. We might do a part two for this. But, a retrograde planet goes forward first. So there was a conjunction to her sun already from Mars, which would have been a lot of anger, a lot of pressure on her. It would have been, you know what, it could be family stuff too, but that's not what we're looking at. So, Mars goes past and now he's back. And he is going to station direct right on her sun. And that will be on the 23rd. There's a lot that's going to happen, obviously, between now and next week, which, she up and said, that's it. We ain't going to talk about this. We're going to have a hearing. And, next week, and both parties will be prepared to discuss whatever it is, right? What it what we think it is, so much speculation going on, but and I have my ideas about my opinion about what actually happened, but I want to say, first of all, that this Mars retrograde out of bounds on her sun and sitting there ready to go direct is like, oh my God, there's so much going on here, and we have to start this trial and move forward and bring some sort of structure here. Um, I think because the moon was in Scorpio, and what was being discussed was finances and reimbursement. And it was made to appear, or it did appear, that it was stuff that should have been talked about that wasn't, and the implication, or the if Hank Brennan was implying that there was a lie, the defense, the really, really looking at the one attorney, I guess, Alan Jackson, but implying that he lied. But the way it was presented, it sounded like he got the info. First, it sounded like he got the information from the feds because there's a federal investigation going on, and there were experts that were going to testify that were not hired by the defense. So it was all of that. So we got the moon in Scorpio. That's like forensic investigation, um, looking at the past. The moon is the past. And because the moon would have passed over her Neptune, Neptune really obscures. And her Neptune is retrograde also, which makes it very personal and internal. And, Neptune can project things. I just think that I think my opinion was it was presented to her in such a way that it was meant to trigger what she suspects, what she's suspicious of, like um what she expects would be the dirty deeds of the defense attorneys to hide something, right? I know you're hiding something. I'm going to find it. So I think it was presented with this moon in Scorpio. It was like, oh, I did this deep, deep, deep dive, and I had to, request information that I shouldn't have to request. I should have gotten this, blah, 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 blah. Um, and it was meant to trigger her emotionally. It was meant to set her off into a tizzy. It was meant to confuse and obscure. That was my opinion. And then I had to look at the chart, and again, I'm looking at, let's say, where the planets were yesterday, where the moon was yesterday, where I know Mars was yesterday, and what I think could be her birth chart. If indeed it is, then what I would say is he triggered her suspicion. He knew exactly where to tickle her and what way to tickle her, that she would immediately get an emotional reaction. you know, Sun in Cancer. She's got Venus in Cancer. She's got Mercury retrograde in Cancer also. She's very emotionally based. And The moon in a water sign, emotional. Scorpio, suspicious. Scorpio is a sign where like you hide things. There's deceit. There can be deceit. I think it was that she was emotionally triggered to the point where it's like, and then he throws all this information, and then she asks, well, something about, a document or an email, was that dated? No, there's no date on it. So we don't know what he was throwing in there. He's just saying, oh, well, they threw all this information at me, and I shouldn't have even had to ask for it, blah, blah, blah. They take a break, and then he comes back and he says, I misspoke. Oh, my bad. I didn't mean that I got it from the feds. I did get it from the defense. But what set her off was immediately. She's already distrustful of the defense attorneys. The moon's in Scorpio. She's waiting for it. Mars has got her all riled up. She's pissed off about a lot of things. Trust me. Trust me. I mean, it's Mars sitting on her face. It's Mars sitting on her face. And I mean, like, I'll give it to Hanky, Pinky. He knew what to do to trigger her. So, what was the reason? I don't know. I mean, maybe there's something in there, but it's almost like, give the bloodhound a scent of blood and it just, doesn't care what it's looking for. It smelled blood and it's off on the hunt. That's the sense I got with her. I don't know what happened when she took her break, but you know what? It stuck in my mind. The What she said on the bench made it sound like, ooh, the defense is in trouble. I've got you now, right? So, and she's shaking and she's very angry. And I think that she thinks that she's got a bone, but I think that she's under the influence of Scorpio and Neptune. And I just think that she's very worried, right? So I think she's very worried. I think she feels like she doesn't want, she would rather not see this whole thing move forward again, I think. And if she could delay or do anything, I watched the first trial. I mean, I watched it all. And uh, she really just seemed like she gave so much to the prosecution that she should not have. And at every turn, just wanted to slam the defense and cripple the defense. And I mean, the whole object, in my opinion, was to keep out the fact that there's a federal investigation going on. And it doesn't have to do, or it didn't start with the death of John O'Keefe and the prosecution of Karen Reed. There's other stuff going on. So her being under so much pressure, I think, was it a stunt? Was she in on it? Nah, she seemed pretty calm through until he threw that bone out. Unless, and I'm not gonna like, I can only speculate. I can't say like, oh, she knew or they knew. I mean, he might not discuss with her or the other side, or not the other side, but like um any of the players in the case or anyone. He may not say exactly what he's got, but he might. I think there was an anticipation. It just feels like there was an anticipation, like, oh, I've got something good. wait till you see what I've got, right? So maybe even if he didn't talk to her directly, who knows? But this, I just think it's interesting because this Mars retrograde is directly affecting the judge here. So that means we can watch for maybe a change in direction. I mean, it looks like it, right? You don't really know. We don't really know at this point. By the time this comes back to the court and she's hearing it again next week, the moon will be in Aquarius. And the moon will, let's see, it'll be squaring her Neptune. I mean, she could just come back and say, I misread what I misunderstood, or, now going back, or allowing them to clarify the defense, right? And then it adds up to nothing. But it really does feel like there was a reason. There was a reason why this hearing needed to abruptly end. Maybe that was Hank, you know, stalling for time. Maybe he thinks he's onto something, or maybe something's going to happen and he wants to get ahead of it because it really does have to do with Mars and Saturn here. Mars is moving forward towards Neptune I'm sorry, Saturn is moving forward towards Neptune. When it gets there, that's going to be everything exposed. So, so Saturn, think about Saturn as the higher authorities. I would look at Saturn in Pisces here as the federal investigation. And Mars is also law enforcement. It's usually police officers, arrest, uh, you know, I'm trying to think here what else is. Mars is like boots on the ground action. Saturn's the authority figure. Saturn does represent the judge. So it is interesting that she has Saturn in Capricorn. So anyway, Saturn in Pisces has been trying to dispel illusions and define things where things have been murky and where we don't have a clear-cut idea of what's going on, the secrets that are being hidden, the illusions that are created. And Saturn, when it comes together with Neptune, uh, we're talking March, we're talking around the eclipses. Wow, watch out. But Mars here, let's say, like, well, the 23rd, Mars will go direct, but it'll take a little while to get up to speed. So I'm just trying to think of where the planets will be next week. The moon will be in Aquarius. Aquarius is pretty detached and cool. Uh, it's not, let's see, it's making, the moon will sextile Venus in Aries, so maybe she'll want more financial information. Uh, where will Mercury be? Oh, right. I did actually screenshot that. Duh. Okay, so Mercury and Saturn will be conjunct next week for that hearing with the moon in Aquarius. Um, yeah, I mean, she's going to really want clear cut details there. Um, I don't know. I mean, everybody's asking, is she going to try to get Alan Jackson off the case? Almost said Andrew Jackson. Well, Saturn, all I'll say is Saturn with Mercury is a no. But is it someone saying no to her? Or or is this because Saturn with Mercury there, that's a hard decision. That is a clear-cut delineation, no answer. Um, but I'm not really sure. But we know if that is the case, that will be appealed. But Saturn has been on her south node. That's that's been pretty difficult. She's got her north node in Virgo, uh, and her south node in Pisces, and Saturn on the south node, very difficult. I feel like she's got a father figure that she runs to when she gets all, you know, whatever. That's why she doesn't rule from the bench. She's got a man, a male figure that she runs to. It's either another judge or her husband. Could be her husband. But I don't think she makes decisions on her own, I swear. At the very least, she takes it under advisement, right? And she will let you know. And then we all joke that she goes and she speaks to her overlords. But I actually do think that I don't know what her husband does for a living. If he's a lawyer or a judge, she definitely confers with him. But I do think that, um, you know, it's possible. And again, I'm reading a chart. I don't know if it's hers. I'm also giving my opinion because I've observed and I've been watching for like a year, almost a year. Guess this spring it'll be a year, whatever. And I watched the trial and I'm very involved and I've been observing for a long time. So I'm giving my opinion. I think that for sure she at the very least checks her emotions. That's why she doesn't make a decision right away. She's got to mull it over and she's got to go to somebody else. There's a confidant, there's a superior, I've heard people speculate, that there are other people in uh whatever positions of power. Could be the DA's office, could be the whatever. I don't think attorney general, but I forget who somebody was saying recently. Whatever. It's a superior. She definitely confers with this person. She's not the one, I don't think, making her own decisions. She may decide, but then she'll go to that other person, that man, that and say, "Well, what do you think?" Just to make sure that she's making the right decision. Um, and also, it may be, and um, in my opinion, it could probably is like she's got like a handler who says, now this is what we're going to do. This is our next step. This is what we know. This is where we're at, whatever, whatever. So I think that they, meaning the prosecution and probably the judge, I mean, she just feels like she's on the side of the prosecution if you watch the trial. Um, It's like, okay, we're gonna go along, and it's about the slow drip of information, and what do we do next based on what the federal investigation, like where are they at with this, where are they at with that? Um, they brought Sandra Birchmore's case in, it's like they're going hard, and all the stuff that they couldn't talk about for the first trial, but we knew about, it's like, you know, it's all in the open now. So, yeah, they're under a lot of pressure. I'm just wondering about next week, Mercury conjunct Saturn. Um, I think something could happen in the meantime. It's not that she can't turn around and say, well, I think you held information from me, and now I need to do an investigation on that. And so we're going to delay things. But that's could be a very convenient excuse because there's other stuff going on. Because once Mars goes direct, so Mars we can look at as law enforcement and working together with Saturn and the federal investigation also. Mars will be direct by then because think about all the steps that were taken while Mars went forward through Cancer and and then went retrograde. It's like we got to redo these things. We have to like revisit and calculate our actions on all sides, prosecution, defense, and the federal investigation. So Mercury, Saturn, and Mars direct in Cancer. Uh, there could be a lot of things simultaneously. She could go forward with some kind of punitive action, but I guarantee you that on a higher level, there is there are other things moving forward, and that will be really interesting. And I think it will be very surprising. Um, the other thing I wanted to look at was what I believe to be the progressed chart. So here we have the progressed chart of the hypothetical birth chart of Judge Beverly Cannone. So if you're new to astrology and you don't know what a progressed chart is, you have the chart for your time of birth. But there's mathematical calculations that help us to fast forward your chart to where you are today. Because obviously you grow and you evolve, things don't stay static. Uh, sorry, I'm going back and forth. Um, so the progress chart is, who you are as a person today. What I think is really interesting is that she, let's see, if my chart is correct, I did say she has Saturn on her south node. South node is lost. South node is the past. South node is where we get caught up and tripped up. And sometimes we have to give things up, right? So Saturn on the south node is like Saturn's the Grim Reaper. Like Saturn is really gonna kick your ass, and it seems like you can't do anything but lose. And so, this is like an albatross around her neck, this case. Um, there are other things in the chart too that were making me think, my God, it's like Sisyphus, first of all. Uh, I did look and see, I looked at some of the asteroids. I know for sure that uh, Damocles, the sword of Damocles, asteroid Damocles, is about 1 degree of Pisces, which could be her natal Chiron, I think. And the sun just entered Pisces. So the sun and Damocles are conjunct on what I think could be her natal Chiron in Pisces. And then if we're correct here, we have the progressed sun conjunct the north node in Virgo. Virgo is the sign of public service. Virgo also deals with our statutes, not necessarily our laws, but I would say statutes and procedures. So it has a lot to do with the procedures in a municipality, and her progressed sun is conjunct. It's pretty close to what would be her natal north node. So, I mean, it's part of her purpose to sort of sort out the details because Virgo is very detail oriented. You know, it's definitely a stickler for detail. Saturn is opposing the the progressed sun. Very difficult. It's difficult. It's difficult also because Saturn in Pisces is showing the glaring inconsistencies and having to face that. And also, if you think of the sun as the person and then the opposite sign as how they're seeing other people, she has got to see how things are being have been hidden and obfuscated because that's a very Piscean thing. Uh, I think it's just interesting. So the other thing that I thought was interesting is that hovering around this trial, like for the past year, I've been watching two asteroids in Virgo that have been between 15 and 19 degrees, where the North Node and her progressed sun are uh, what I think is her progressed sun. I'm sorry. The progressed sun of the chart, the hypothetical chart. These two asteroids, in my mind, are representative of RICO criminal organizations and sort of, guilty by association. And the other, so that would be the asteroid is called Aphetus, APH, Aphetus. And it's mythology. If you're not into Greek mythology, I mean, it's whatever. But the other asteroid is Orcus. And Orcus, I mean, there's a few underworld judges in mythology, in Greek mythology. They judge the dead, but they're judges. And Orcus judges the oath breakers. And what I think is so interesting here is that we've seen, you know, what are we seeing here? We're seeing Virgo public servants. We're seeing people who are alleged to have maybe conspired criminally. So, you know, I'm not saying it would be charged as a RICO thing, but you know what I mean, RICO and um we're we're looking at, modern day um mafia type family criminal organizations. We're just it's a network of people who are working towards committing and covering up crimes, and they happen to be in the Virgo sector, the public sector. Very interesting. So here we have possibly her progressed sun and north node. So whatever it is, she's living out her purpose. But I think I don't know if she likes the side of it that she's falling on, but she doesn't really have a choice, I guess. It seems to me. But she definitely has a bias towards, if she thinks that someone is lying or she thinks that someone has withheld information, especially someone who is an officer of the court, right? A lawyer. Um, but it's personal. I mean, if it's personal, listen, don't take offense to this, Virgos, but Virgo is a very judgmental, can be. It's very particular. uh, It's hypercritical. So I think that that will obscure her judgments. And there's a lot to say about in this chart about her own belief systems. I won't go into the stars, but I did look at the stars and the asteroids. I did see Sisyphus pushing the boulder up the hill. Let's see. What would that have been? I don't remember what it is. It's fine. But guess that's all I have for today. Just really watch, I guess, as Mars goes direct and starts moving forward. Watch the 23rd into the 24th. The hearing will be on the 26th, but I feel like because when a planet stations, it's very strong and we could see some sort of action. And um, let's see, it could be the 24th, the moon could be in Capricorn. I don't know. Just watch the day because Mars goes direct, stationary direct. And then as Mars moves forward, we have Saturn moving towards a conjunction with Neptune, and Saturn is going to bust that shit wide open. Bust that shit wide open. I don't know what's going to happen with the trial exactly, but if this is her progressed Mercury here is at 29 degrees. The lunar eclipse on the 14th of March is at 20, about 23, 24 degrees. So it's close to her progressed Mercury if this is hers, and it's opposite Neptune. See, Mercury in Virgo, a sign that it also rules, is about getting to the details, but it's at the very last degrees of uh of Virgo here. And it's really scrutinizing every little detail. And it's really, I think it's staring over at Neptune and saying, what the heck is going on there? And then when Saturn steps into the rays of Neptune, Wow. I think these eclipses are going to bust so much open that it's going to make your head spin. And whatever happened yesterday, I do see that the moon would have been in conjunct to Jupiter, which is newly stationed, still very strong. It could be that her Jupiter is conjunct what could be her progressed moon. Jupiter expands, lots of information. The moon, emotional. The moon yesterday in in Scorpio, it would have sextiled to her Saturn. The progressed Saturn would be at 11 degrees of Capricorn. And then at the apex of that is Jupiter in Gemini. And we know that something was filed yesterday. I think it was filed with the Supreme Court. Like there was an appeal that was denied. It had to do with the jury stuff. And then there was another appeal, and I think that that was the Supreme Court. I don't know. But Jupiter is lawsuits. I don't know. I just know that that was probably what, that's the trigger. The moon is the trigger. Overwhelmed with information for her and emotion. And, Saturn also, when Saturn bears down on you, it's like, it's that feeling of, oh man, I've got this thing looming over my head. That's the sort of Damocles, right? Like you're kind of aware that they're coming for you. They're not here now, but they're coming. And that's Saturn just sort of slowly coming towards you. It's coming for you. And I'm not saying they're coming for her. What I'm saying is Saturn, the buck stops here, and it will get to the point where she won't be able to play along with the facade that this trial has been. She cannot, yeah, I don't know. It, it'll be just so obvious, I think. And she'll look bad if whatever went down yesterday, we don't know what happened in Chambers, right? Or we don't know the backstory. But she can play it off now and spin it a certain way. Hank can spin it a certain way. They want it to look like, oh, you're in trouble now, defense, right? But there's something else going on for sure. All right. Mercury is about to square Jupiter. Either some other lawsuit gets filed, a motion gets filed, charges get filed, something gets exposed. The lawsuits and the motions and what they were arguing in court, presenting in court, that's exposure. There's more information, and it could be overwhelming. But there's a clearer and clearer picture. Like I said, Saturn is coming towards Neptune. Neptune hides and obscures, Saturn defines, and there could be more information. There could be, it will also look very suspicious if she rules and says, you lied, but they didn't actually lie, or that whatever was done and whatever was presented was not inappropriate. Yet she decides that it was because it's just something that she used to like kind of do. Like, I don't like that. That's, we're not gonna, no, no, I decided that doesn't look good, so I'm gonna rule no. And judges will do that oftentimes and say, you can appeal it, but she's gonna look really bad. I just wonder, like, just the course of action to stop the trial and say, we're gonna need to have a hearing because like now I have information. Like this is going to profoundly affect. This is what I was going to say before. I don't know that it's really bad. Like, we're assuming that it's bad. We're assuming that it's bad for the defense. I don't know. You guys tell me. Comment on the video stream because what I heard could have been taken two ways. She said profoundly impact, have a profound impact or whatever, something to that effect on the defense. I don't know. I don't know. All I know is Mars is going to go direct. Mars is done rehashing the past. Mars will be ready to move forward. Mars will still be cranky. Mars will still be dealing with Cancer vibe, energy, water, and looking at the past and dealing with families, family connections. Yes, I do think. And who's been protected? Let's just put it that way. But Saturn is going to come in and say, uh, it's time for a reckoning. It's time for accountability. And the decisions that are made and the actions that are taken are going to show what side a person is on. It will show their values, their integrity or lack thereof. And the bell's ringing, so that means my time is up. Just watch for the eclipses. Watch for the 14th, 15th lunar eclipse. That's interesting. And as the south node, I will leave you with this. The south node is in Virgo. Her possible progressed sun in Virgo, potentially, with the asteroids that I spoke about, Aphetus and Orcus, oath breakers, and guilty by association, RICO criminal networks, and how they operate within the social structure of public service. Those who are elected or appointed, who are supposed to be there to serve and there to apply the statutes and procedures, including those in court. That's what this Virgo is. The South Node is going to hit the progressed sun in this chart because the nodes go backwards and Saturn is going to be on the North Node. That'll be a reckoning. And then the South Node, the, the nodes will proceed. She will have a nodal reversal. And that's can be difficult if you're not in alignment with what you should be doing, if you're not in integrity, here with whatever, it could be health, it could be health. Um, but you also could be switching careers, retiring, who knows, at that time. But nodal reversals can be a time of loss and difficulty and shame. There could be disgrace. We'll have to look more at that. But I'm telling you, the South Node is coming for this progressed sun in this chart, but that means the South Node is coming for Orcus and Aphetus. And that means people who should be there in the helping professions and public service who are not doing their job or who are part of criminal organizations or who have broken their oath, which will include medical professionals because Virgo does deal with health. There'll be trouble for those people. Yep, karma is coming. So maybe next time we'll look at some more asteroids. Now that I said karma, now I want to know where the asteroid karma is. An asteroid lie. Karma and lie. Those are some of my other favorite pet asteroids. Anyway, that's pretty much it for today. Thank you, all 6 of you. That's 12 eyes that have been watching the live stream. But if you're interested, go to my YouTube channel. It'll be up in the archive on my YouTube channel later. I might even premiere it as a live stream. I seem to get more views that way. But anyway, you can find me over there, astrolunachick. And if you are not already following me, please follow me. You can hit the little bell there. You can get notifications of when I go live and when I tweet updates about astrology and anything else that I find interesting. I'm always looking to pass the word along, looking at the chicanery, always wanting to inform and observe and report, I guess. All right. All right, we're done here. Thanks again, you guys. If you're interested in a reading, send me a DM or you can email me at astrolunachick@gmail.com and we'll get you hooked up. I do little readings, I do big readings. I can read on anything with a time, date, and place. I can read on your new boyfriend. You know, I think it's better than a background check. I think these days, if you're going to date somebody, you should probably do a background check. Even hiring people, it's always a good idea. So, yeah. I do all of that. I do retrograde readings. I do solar returns. I do, what's a retrograde reading? Oftentimes I'll have people say, would you look at what's coming, with the Mercury retrograde? What's it going to be doing in my chart? Or the eclipses, we could do eclipse readings. Like, where's the eclipse happening in your chart? What area of life can you expect to see major changes? It's always good to know. Forewarned is forearmed. Okay, that's it for now. Thank you for sticking around. And so, yeah, like, share, subscribe. Again, make comments, ask questions. I love to have a discussion going. And if there's any other topic or anyone else that you want me to look at the chart for, I have a list. I didn't expect to be doing Auntie Bev first. I thought I'd be doing Diddy or John Benet Ramsey, something like that. But I don't know, just something made me, I looked at her chart, the hypothetical chart. I looked at the chart yesterday and I thought, wow, this is really interesting. And I wanted to redeem myself after I made those men behaving badly remarks my last show. So I can show you, you know, a lot of people are under the gun. A lot of people are out of sorts and acting out of pocket. And so I seized the teaching moment and showed you that, you know, if Bev Cannone is a Cancer and has her son somewhere in the middle of Cancer in those degrees, she's being affected by Mars. Mars got her triggered. Mars got her panties in a bunch. And I think she was so mad she couldn't even sort out the details. And she does what she always does, which is, I got to go talk to my daddy. Literally, she went to talk to her dad. Now, who's her dad? I don't know. Dad in quotation marks. Whoever is above her. And if you've known women like this, they don't really trust themselves to make decisions, which I'm not saying is a good or a bad thing. They just know men are more rational minded when it comes to things, and women tend to be more emotional. So she knows herself. I'll give her that. She knows herself. But there's a man behind the bench. I wonder who that is. If anybody's got a birth date of any of the players that they think it might be, I'd be happy to look at that. I haven't been around to collect any of any those things usually are not, public information. I haven't really seen anybody. When I see stuff, I grab it. When I know how old somebody is and, they're wishing somebody a happy birthday, like one of the McAlberts recently, uh, I threw up a chart because that Aquarius was heavily affected by the last full moon in Leo. Anyway, that's all I want to say. And yeah, I mean, if you don't know about the Karen Reed case, I'm telling you, this is going to be one that goes down in the history books because there are constitutional issues here across the board. Very fascinating. And I don't believe she'll be convicted. Uh, if even if they did, it would go to appeal. But what a woman Karen is. She's got a birthday coming up. And I do have her chart. I may talk about it. I almost feel like I want to be more protective of that and be, like not expose it and not, and be more private about her chart. I may look at the chart and then just make comments based on it, but I'm not even going to show her chart. I have so much respect for her, first of all. And there is a lot that you can see. I wouldn't even go into the personal stuff. I would just look at the transits, her chart, what it what it looks like in relation to what I think is the judge's chart, because it's crazy. Um, so I may look at Karen Reed's chart and do a little analysis, but I won't show the chart. I think she deserves that respect. Judge Cannone, not so much. The only thing I cropped things out here because I don't know if that's considered doxing, personal information, birth information is probably not a thing you want to put out there, but I don't know if it's accurate. So this is a chart. I'm reading a chart. That's all I'm doing. But anyway, if you would like me to dive into anything of interest, uh, make a comment on the YouTube video, comment on here on Twitter, on the live stream. And again, I appreciate all your subscribing, your liking, your sharing. It really, really helps. It's so hard to gain traction. and the support of the people who are following and who are interested. If you want to see more of it, listen, I work harder when I feel like people are noticing. When I think no one's watching, it's like, why bother? But I think, but if people have an interest and people want to know, and if you have suggestions, you want me to look at a chart of anything, an event or a person, I am so happy to do so. I love to share astrology with everyone. I think I try to make it fairly easy. If you don't know astrology and you have no clue what I'm talking about when it comes to that, just filter out the words that you don't understand, right? Because I could say, wow, Judge Cannone, uh, Cancer Sun, and Mars is retrograde out of bounds on her sun. Wow, is she cranky? All you have to hear is she's cranky. And there's a reason why. And she's mad and she was triggered. And there's a reason why. There's a planet sitting on her face and it's not making her happy at all. Anyway, that's how I learned. I just started picking up things little by little and filtering out what I didn't understand and filing it away for later and whatever. All you need to know is Mars is a cranky bitch. It's affecting men, it's affecting women. All right. I hope I redeem myself. All you guys out there, you cranky guys, forgive me for what I said the other day about men curling up into a little ball, with a saggy diaper that leaks. I'm sorry. I hope you feel better now. All right. I'm getting out of here because I'm hungry. It's dinner time. All right, guys. Thanks again. Ciao for now.